and talk about the members-elect now. Yesterday we saw a meeting of the APC elected parliamentarians meet, and there are speculations that perhaps it has to do with the choice of principal officers at the National Assembly, and the president-elect said, well, he has no favorite, and all that. So perhaps you want to, give us some insight on that.
Well, I read that story, and if I were the president-elect, I won't say so, because as the president-elect, looking forward to be inaugurated, you should be interested in who leads the National Assembly, because whatever the National Assembly does, whether you like it or not, will have effect on whatever promises you have made to the people of the country. Maybe it is an attempt to ward off pressure and lobbying that are already coming its way. But for me, I see the meeting as a good one. If anything, I hope APC will learn from the mistakes of 2015, because incidentally, I was still, reporting from the National Assembly, when all those lobbying started. And in one of the articles I wrote, I did warn that APC should know that he does not have overwhelming majority, especially in the National Assembly, both the Senate and House of Reps. Therefore, it must not rely only on its member-elect or senator-elect to elect presiding officers. You need the buy-in of the opposition parties, because especially when you cannot have consensus as to who should run for the office in your party. The moment you have more than one person showing interest from your party, it means that you must find a way of resolving it before it gets out. So for me, I welcome the meeting, and I hope that the meeting will bear fruit. But let me advise very strongly that the way the country is being configured, for the Senate presidency, for me, I will advocate very strongly that the Southeast should be considered, because that is the only way to give them a sense of belonging.
All right, Sumaila, he said that he talked about the president-elect saying that he's not showing interest at this point. But then there was a writer to that story saying that they should go and work for the governorship elections first. So don't you think that the reason maybe the president-elect is not saying anything yet is because there is another election to be won, and then he needed people to go and work hard?
Whatever is the reason, I think President Buhari also gave that posture that year that Bukola Saraki emerges and say, oh, no, it doesn't cost that. And then 9 minutes, we started seeing the hand of Esau or the hand of Paul or whatever it is they say playing out, and that created crisis. You understand? And that's why throughout the Senate presidency of Bukola Saraki, it was one crisis or the other, and it's the same party. It was the same party. The president and the Senate president are from the same party, but yet it was looking as if it was the opposition that was there. So it's better for the party to know, because we saw this also play out when the presidential election, the primaries was coming around, and the president was acting like aloof, like I don't care whatever happens, and then 9 minutes he's showing interest in knowing. And it's actually appalling for me that a sitting president does not care about who succeed him, because we're not talking about your personal property, we're talking about a government, we're talking about a country that you're trying to move. So as a matter of fact, part of leadership qualities should be like breeding another leader that will take over from you, that has the same ideology if you mean well for the country. So you should look for like minds if you really mean well for the country, and not the issue of let me chop here, you chop there kind of politics. But really, we're looking for like-minded people who wants to move this country forward. You should be concerned about who mans what, so that you can actually achieve that goal.
All right. Well, because of time, let's shift away again to the what's happening right now at the appeal court, and I'm talking about the Osun State governorship legal tussle right now. Yesterday we saw that there was the hearing at the Supreme Court, at the appeal court rather, and we want to just get your take, Samaila, on this, on all that has transpired so far. Arguments over voting, and you know, the other party is saying no over voting here.
Well, Osun's election case is an interesting one, and I'm sure most Nigerians are showing very keen interest in it. I listened to the INEC counsel yesterday, trying to draw a similarity between what happened during the presidential election about 2 weeks ago to what happened in Osun. Even though I'm not a lawyer, but as an intellectual, I do know that there are no similarities
at the Court of Appeal Abuja Division.
Because during the presidential election, INEC came out to tell us that they could not transmit immediately for certain reasons. Whereas during the Osun governorship, as the results was being declared, it was being transmitted. So the issue of network, except you are telling me that because the Beavers report upon which the APC built its case in Osun was based on a certified true copy from INEC generated from their back-end server. Now, if you are not arguing that there was no network, you are not, except you are telling me that for 10 days after the return was made, there was no network to transmit data. Because what INEC told us was that the first Beavers report that was issued to the APC was incoherent, was not synchronized, according to them. Now, they now issued another Beavers report, and the APC got its own Beavers report 10 days after the election was declared as being concluded and winner emerged. They made the return. Now, it was based on that Beavers report that APC filed this petition at the election tribunal. Now, after filing this petition, apparently seeing some of the areas the APC was challenging, INEC now prepared another Beavers report, which they now called synchronized Beavers report. They are now arguing that that synchronized Beavers report supersedes.
What they are saying is that that's the complete one.
That is what they are saying. But as at the time, you know what the court asked them was that as at the time you issued the first one, did you tell APC that the one you are giving them is incomplete? They said no. Did you make any attempt to withdraw it, having realized it's incomplete? They said no. And you know, law is not about sentiment, it's not about emotion. It's about what it is. Facts and logic. Now, there is now another third report, which was generated from the physical inspection of the Beavers machine.
At the Court of Appeal Abuja Division,
since there are controversy between the two Beavers reports issued by INEC, the court should rely on their own report, which was generated from the physical inspection of the Beavers machine, where they claim that only 6 polling units had overvoting. But the point is, it wasn't PDP that conducted the election. And so if you did not conduct the election, how can you produce results? So those are the issues before the appeal court. And, election petition is time-bound. From our calculation, which the presiding judge even mentioned yesterday, the deadline, the date for the expiration of the matter at the appeal court is 26th.
Okay.
So they are expected to deliver judgment between now and 26th.
All right, let me just let Samaila chip in on this. Your take. It seems like Beavers is creating all sorts of challenges for us.
Well, you see, INEC had about 4 years to prepare for another election after one election has been conducted, except for cases of where you have some states where elections are not being conducted at the same time with, like, the general election, you know, that's, I'm talking about the governorship and all of that. But you see, if you had this much time, you brought in the idea of the Beavers and all of that, and then either the company where those things are being produced didn't tell you what are the likely challenges, I think that's actually that undermines your preparations, because you should have envisaged some things that are bound to happen. So what do we do? What is the backup if we encounter this technical issue, or if we encounter a network issue? What do we do? So all this, because we're talking about the general election, where the president is going to be produced and all of that, and you don't want to look like you don't even know what you're doing in the long run. Yeah. So I feel, even if at this time, because they have now the opportunity to right whatever wrong happened in the presidential election, if this same thing continue, and we witnessed, we experienced this during the governorship that is going to be a few days from now, then it shows that INEC was never prepared at all.
All right, thank you so much. This is where we would have to end the discussion. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Ismail Omipidang is the Chief Press Secretary to former Governor of Osun State, and also Samaila Musa. He is the spokesperson for the Coalition of Northern Groups, joining us on Daybreak for perspectives on some of the matters arising ahead of the elections and also after the elections. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you again.